Welcome back to segment 5, the final segment of this particular vidcast. And we're going to finish things up by talking about the 30-man roster as selected by the United States men's team and Bob Bradley for the World Cup. And, of course, this will be whittled down to 23, and we'll talk about who we think might not make that group of 23 in the end. But we're going to start off, and we're just going to take it by position. Not much to talk in the goalkeeper selections there, Brett, because you got Brad Guzan, who's your number 3, Marcus Hanneman, your number 2, and Tim Howard, your number 1.
No, I agree that there was really no speculation about who was going to come there. The only possibility is that if Bradley decided to bring a 4th goalkeeper just to keep things evened out, but I figured that would have been a spot where we could trim the fat immediately.
Well, and then if one of them gets injured during the training, then he still has the option down the road of bringing somebody else in later. So it's not it's not set in stone. As I think who pointed that out today said, hey. This isn't the final roster. If something goes wrong, you still have the opportunity to bring somebody from the outside in. So let's say Marcus Hanneman gets an injury during training. It's okay. There's somebody else we can bring in. Defenders, we've got Carlos Bocanegra from Rennes, of course, Jonathan Bornstein from Chivas, Steve Cherundolo from Hanover, Jay Demerit from Watford, Clarence Goodson from IK Start. In Norway, Chad Marshall from Columbus, Aguchi Onyewu from AC Milan, Heath Pierce from Dallas, and Jonathan Spector from West Ham. What are your thoughts there, Brett?
Well, for the most part, my original 30-man roster that I predicted this morning, I had 8 of the 9 players listed. The only difference is I had Castillo over Marshall, strictly because I figured between Gooch, Boca, Goodson, and Demerit, I figured our center backs would have been cleared. What I'm still puzzled on really is our left back position, because what it looks like right now is it looks like we're really relying either on Spector taking over on the left spot or Pierce and Bornstein fighting for it, although Boca could still push over depending on whether or not Gooch is ready.
Boca will push over. I mean, listen, we got 30 days here. He's been cleared. Gooch has by AC Milan to play, so they're not even worried about him getting injured. At the same time, Demerit seems to be coming back. He got cleared as well by Watford. They would have, played him today had they had a game. So I think Demerit, Gooch in the middle, and I think you're going to see Bocanegra play the same position he plays at Rennes, and that's left back. And there's no way he's not playing. He's the captain of the team. And that leaves the fight, really, in my eyes, and we've talked about it before, between Cherundolo and Spector at the right back position.
Thank God Demerit recovered from his stomach injury.
Yeah, I hear he pulled a muscle, and it was I guess during a tryst with one of his girlfriends, but he's better now. We've got
30 plus days before the World Cup. Anything could happen. Demerit could still stub a toe or something.
Yeah, I mean, you never know with Demerit. All right, midfielders, we've got DeMarcus Beasley, Glasgow Rangers, of course, but he's leaving. Alejandro Bedoya from Obrero, Sweden. Michael Bradley from Borussia Mönchengladbach. Ricardo Klock, Eintracht Frankfurt. Clint Dempsey from Fulham. Landon Donovan, of course, L.A. Maurice Adu from Glasgow Rangers as well. Benny Feilhaber, AGF Arhaus, and Stuart Holden from Bolton. Sasha Kleshchen from Chivas USA. Robbie Rogers from Columbus. And Jose Torres from Pachuca. Your thoughts?
I had 11 of the 12 midfielders. I mean, it seems like most of the positions are pretty self-explanatory. It's only the remaining 3 or 4 spots, really, that are in question. Instead of Rogers, I included Adu, simply because, I mean, he's been getting some playing time with his team in Greece, but I don't know why Rogers merits a call-up. I think that's basically going to be an easy write-off. I don't see him really stepping it up and earning a man spot on the 23 roster.
Well, here's the bottom line. You might be right about Rogers. He's probably not going to make the team. But I think what Bradley wanted to look at very closely is the wing position. And Robbie Rogers can play left midfield. and he's just trying to find somebody. And Adu, he has been playing sort of a left center midfield to left midfield spot for Aris, but honestly, Robbie Rogers getting a lot more playing time, and I think he's looking for somebody a little faster than Adu. And the way he's got things schemed out, Bob Bradley, he's looking for speed rather than skill on that left midfield spot.
Now, given the opportunity for a sub on the midfield spot, I don't see Rogers being, even if he made the 23-man roster, I don't see him being a number one potential sub for that wing spot. I feel Bedoya would take over, or even Holden would have a spot over him. I think with Adu, you just really gotta ask, well, what does Adu bring to the table? He brings the creativity. He brings he's a difference maker, and whether or not he still could be a difference maker, I'm not sure, but he at least brings that aspect to the game, and I think he's just a more offensive option than Rogers is.
Well, don't you think as well, though, and here's my last thought on this, is that Robbie Rogers actually probably still thinks he has a chance to make this World Cup team, whereas Adu I don't think does. And when you're going to be bringing guys into practice and they're going to be wearing the red and yellow jerseys and playing on separate teams and battling against one another for these spots, he wants somebody who's going to push the other guys to the limit. And maybe Robbie brings that kind of tenacity, whereas Adu, at least in rumors before this, has not. So that's the only other thing I'd throw out there. The guys I cut from this, obviously, is Robbie Rogers is not going to make it in my book. Sasha Kljestan's not going to make it. At least I hope he doesn't. No offense to Sasha, but those are the two guys I know are not going to make it from the midfield pack. And I think there's guys on the edge like Jose Torres and even Alejandro Bedoya. But you want to move on to the forwards?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Our forwards are Josie Altidore. They have him listed here as Hull. He's not from Hull anymore. He's back at Villarreal. Edson Buttle, Los Angeles. Brian Ching, Houston. Robbie Findlay, Salt Lake. Hercules Gomez, as we predicted, Puebla, Mexico. Eddie Johnson, Aris, Greece. Your thoughts?
Well, let's start it off with talking about the obvious player that's missing is Charlie Davies, who is by no fault by Bob Bradley for trying to get him. It's just that his club doctors simply just didn't release him.
And it goes beyond that because Bob Bradley had somebody basically going through with Charlie through training every single day. He had an actual representative there from the United States men's team who was there most of the time watching his every move. And, in fact, he had an official visit from some of Bob Bradley's staff not long ago. And their thought was, this guy's not 100%. He's lucky if he's 60%. And we just don't see him being ready.
And I'm agreeing that if he's not 100% ready, he shouldn't go. He has a month to get prepped and ready and fully fit. But you know what? The U.S. doesn't have the investment in him that his club does. His club is paying his salary.
Right.
And if he's not being released, then I fully 100% agree that he just needs a rehab and start over again the 2014 cycle.
Yeah, I agree. And we got about a minute left already, but yeah. I'm just going to close out my 30 seconds by saying that, again, we're bringing Robbie Findlay, Edson Buttle, and Eddie Johnson. To me, that's overkill on that area. I would agree with you that we should have brought Casey at least in one of those three spots because Edson Buttle, Eddie Johnson, and Robbie Findlay are essentially almost the same player.
100% agree. The reason I would bring Ching over Findlay is simply because he'd push Casey would push Ching to battle for that one target striker position that they're really looking for.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much just Ching's now to have, and
right
Ching,
now, yeah, exactly.
And Ching just got healthy, so hopefully he can regain his form in the meantime. But of course, Casey hurt himself, and his the whole idea he might be going because he started off really slow this season. So. All right, folks, it looks like we are done, and that was the end of segment 4 or 5 or whatever the hell it is at this point. We'll be back next week and to talk more in depth about all things MLS, all things U.S. men's national team, and more. All right, take care.